Blood, I've had to address this in the past, and I'm going to address this again. This is some new age American internet nonsense. It is not my job, it is not your job to retire your mum.
I saw this video that said it is not your responsibility to retire your parents. And he was talking about how a lot of kids burden themselves mentally to retire their parents rather than focusing on what is good for them. And I agreed with some points, but this argument is definitely nuanced. And I think if you state a problem and don't give practical solutions, in the wrong hands, most young people watching that video are going to do what? They're going to think, yeah, man, I don't owe my parents nothing. And then it's going to cause chaos in their homes, because this is something I've carefully navigated. And I think I'm in a good position to actually speak about this, because I've kind of bared the smoke. I've dealt with the heat before, right? Of someone that has to prioritize themselves, build what they need to build, and then potentially give back to their parents. Because what I've noticed, especially predominantly in African households, South Asians, from what I know, don't really relate to this as much. But in African households, it is pretty common. North African, East African, West African. When you reach a certain age, you're required to contribute to the household irrespective. But then again, there's 3 types of parents that I want to discuss with you guys. So I've noticed there are 3 types. Number 1 is the totalitarian or the authoritarian. You start working, you've got your grad role, 30k, 40k a role, fantastic, £500 every single month, non-negotiable. Then there's other parents where you get the number 2, which is probably worse in my opinion, the emotional guilt tripper. Because these are very unfortunate sometimes, because parents, I don't believe they do it intentionally, but it makes situations a lot harder, where your mum or your dad shows you that they're visibly struggling, that they're visibly going through things and what they've done for you. And because you love your parents, is more sort of an emotional guilt tripping thing. I think the totalitarian mindset of, yo, you started working, start giving me X amount of money is much better than emotional manipulation. And the last one is a progressive parent, right? You know, progressive parents are ones that like to meet you in the middle. They're ones that tell you, you know, how much can you afford? And based on how much you can afford, we'll kind of stick to that. And if you can't afford it anymore, let me know and we'll try to adjust it accordingly. Most people relate to number 2, the emotional manipulation. And there's this mindset, and every person I speak to, they kind of hate this, which is, why do parents think just because I started earning money, I'm able to give money? You know, me earning money doesn't mean I'm able to freely give. But here's the thing, right? Parents aren't the enemy in this situation. And I believe in all of these situations that people have with their families and their parents, if you changed your approach, it would actually change everything. So, for example, in my household, my parents don't really force it upon me to give them money. Sometimes, occasionally, as I said, it's predominantly an African thing. Emotional manipulation kind of comes out. But for me, the thing that I've been very good at doing instinctively, I don't think I've been trained, it's just instinctive, is I would state my boundary and I wouldn't budge. So in my household, they will call me very stubborn, right? If I want to do something or if I don't want to do something, I'm going to stick to it. But here's the thing that I'm good at that I want to share with you guys. I openly communicate in a very clear way. And I'm going to go into this in a lot of detail. A lot of kids are non-confrontational. So what they actually do is they speak in a way where it doesn't actually indicate how you truly believe. For example, if I don't want to give money to my mum, or let's say I can't afford to give money to my mum, I'm not going to go to my mum and say, Mum, I don't think I can afford to, look at the way I'm speaking. Right? If you do that, it indicates that you have a feeling of not being able to do it, but it isn't certain. Whereas me, stone cold, I'll look you in the eyes and I'll say, Mum, I'm just going to tell you this right now. I cannot afford to give you money anymore. Literally, that's what I will tell her. Then your mom's going to say, why? What happened? You know, I used the money to do. Mum, I'm being honest. If I could, I would. But look, here's the situation. I have a pay cut, or let's say, for example, I started investing in this, I started doing this. Mum, I promise you it is going to be temporary, but right now I cannot afford it. Because if I give you this money, I probably will struggle to pay my car rent. I probably will struggle to buy food on the way to work, or let's say commute, X, Y, Z. You get my point. If you're able to do that, do not get me wrong. You can't control the external variables, which are your parents' reactions. You cannot control this. I can't control the way my mum's going to react or the way my dad's going to react. They might be totalitarian, they might be emotional manipulator, or they may be progressive. But here's the thing. You've stated your boundary. And what is the worst case scenario? I don't know. I'm bearing in mind, they're definitely in the minority, but I don't know parents that would kick you out of the house just because you can't contribute as much as you used to before. I don't know parents that would sabotage your life physically and ruin your life just because you can't contribute. There will definitely be some emotional battles. They might look at you a certain type of way and say, this kid doesn't respect me or this kid doesn't love me. But that's all emotional. Especially mothers. Mothers are naturally emotional, but you need to learn to be confrontational, but not in the way that you think it is. People think confrontation means arguing and shout. No, it means state what you want to say and leave it there. For me, that's the thing that I've been blessed with. I will say how I feel. How you react is out of my control, but I know my conscience is clear knowing that I've communicated this. And guess what? You can then add, Mum, I can't give you £400 every month anymore, but I'll give you maybe £150. That's what I can afford right now. I promise you, once things clear up, I'll give you the 400 again. Boom. It is definitely going to have some, or it's definitely going to require some repetitions, but I promise you this works. And I want to remind you before I finish this video, parents are not the enemy. When people speak like that and they make videos like that, the reason why I hate it is it almost always pits you and your parents against each other. You don't owe your parents the retirement status. You're not obliged to retire your parents. When you say that, it's like, yo, parents are kind of the enemy, but they're not. Parents just have a misunderstanding. And one thing that I'm going to touch on, sometimes I do talk for a lot of time, and some of you guys that are watching this at this point are probably loving it. But the one thing I noticed is when you constantly give parents money and you see your family situation constantly getting worse, you are enabling their financial illiteracy. But that's a topic for another day. But all I'm saying is, if you can't afford, and if you don't have the money, and even if you do earn the money, but your net at the end of the month isn't the amount that you wish it would be, and you're building something, state your boundary, stick by it. That would show that you are a man, or it would show that you are a woman of your word. And I promise you, you're going to get some backlash, but over time, people are going to respect your decisions and people are going to leave you alone.